This is the Doctor, President-elect of the High Council of Time Lords.
I am definitely a madman with a box.
Anyone for jelly, baby?
I'm the Doctor. I'm 904 years old. I'm from the planet Gallifrey in the constellation of Castabras.
Hey Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And we are at episode 54. Smashing through these episodes now.
We are, yes.
It doesn't feel like that long, and we're going to be at Crimbo.
I know, yeah. I was talking to someone about Christmas yesterday, actually, and I felt bad. I was thinking, I don't want to be talking about Christmas already, but it is coming around quick, isn't it?
It is. It's weird because I feel like as soon as you hit September, maybe it's just the name, the way you say the month finishes in the same way as December. I don't know.
Yeah.
As soon as we hit September, it just feels like Christmas is round the corner.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Don't know why. But it's really cool because we've got Halloween first, which is always good.
Yeah, it's funny. I love Halloween now. I don't know why. I mean, I never used to be too bothered about it, but last couple of years, it seems to have really sort of grown, doesn't it, Halloween? I'm quite into Halloween now.
Halloween's awesome.
Yeah. Do you have a big party then, or do you get dressed up, or what?
I don't. Well, unless we're going to a party that's, compulsory dress up. But I don't sit in a house dressed up.
Okay. Well, I have to confess I did last year. It's really sad, isn't it?
No, it's not sad. What did you dress up as?
Actually, maybe it was the year before. I don't know. I think I went a bit Halloween crazy one year. Actually, it was not last year, it was the year before. And because there was all these cheap cutouts, crazy cutouts in the shop. So I bought them all and plastered them around the house and sort of put on a cape, and I can't remember. And yeah, anyway, but yeah, I didn't have a party or anything. It was all a bit sad. My partner came back and was just like, what's going on? It's like, it's Halloween! Just a party for two. And a blow-up skeleton. Yeah, so a party for two and a blow-up skeleton.
Oh, that sounds cool. So you went proper, you almost went Americanized with it.
Yeah, pretty much,
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what I tried to force my other half to watch, because I put some old school horror on. I'm trying to think what it was. And I was loving it, but
Scaredy Pants.
No, it was like a Hammer or so, Hammer horror. So that's right. It might have been. It's not the Reptile. It's the other one. I've forgotten it. Plague of Zombies. Yeah, an old Hammer one with Jack and Pierce. So I was like, I've bought this. I haven't watched it. Let's put it on. It's Halloween, and yeah, I loved it, but very dated.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So yeah, that's probably why it was 2 years ago and we didn't do anything last year. I probably learnt my lesson.
Okay. It does sound very cool though. A lot better than most people do. I think our American friends, you guys do Halloween so much better than we do.
Oh yeah, it has to be said. Yeah.
Yeah. Halloween.
So what have you been up to? What have you been doing?
What have I been up to? I've been on a bit of an Eccleston binge this week.
Have you? Oh, right.
Yeah, because I grabbed the box set because obviously we needed to watch Boomtown for this week. And I just started watching it like a few episodes before that. So because I got the box set out and I was like looking through the discs and stuff, and I was like, yeah, there's actually quite a few. I really, really like the Eccleston stuff.
Yeah.
So I just stuck on. I think I started watching from, I think it was The Long Game.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, and went through. So you had like The Empty Child, Father's Day, Doctor Dances, all that stuff. And then so obviously I watched Boomtown. Then I carried on and watched the last two. So finished off with Bad Wolf and The Parting of the Ways.
I think it's such a cracking ending, actually, to that series. I really do think it stands up well.
Yeah. So I had a bit of an Eccleston binge. And I also read the the little booklet that comes with box sets.
Oh, yeah.
I read through that because I only read through them once, and that's it really when I first get it. So I kind of forgotten, and I'd forgotten how touching the messages that Russell T Davies wrote at the end.
Oh, right.
He just goes through and says, it's a really humble message actually. He goes through to say that, he's really happy that the BBC brought Doctor Who back because a new generation of fans can witness all this stuff, and he's very thankful to Chris Eccleston and Billy Piper and stuff. So that was really cool. It was just kind of one of those back in time moments when I thought, that's very, very cool.
Yeah, I must admit, I don't think I've read that actually. I'll have to dig that out and have a look.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
So mostly doing some some Eccleston watching stuff, which is very cool, and trying to locate some other Doctor Who or sci-fi convention-y stuff to plug in for the rest of the year, because 2015 is swiftly approaching its end, and so I was really up for you guys might have seen that I put on Twitter earlier. There was I was really up for the London Comic Con, the winter one that they do in November, but they've cancelled it. Well, I say cancelled, they've changed everything, so they're not going to do the winter one anymore in London. They're going to do it down in Brighton.
Yeah, and it's something to do with the capacity, isn't it? It wasn't really. It was actually because the capacity was too big or something. The venue contacted them and said we can't accommodate it, which is bizarre.
Yeah, it was more to do with access in and out of the venue.
Ah, right, okay.
Because that where do they do it? Is it the Olympia or?
It's either they do it at the Olympia too, and also
is it Earl's Court too?
Earl's Court too, sorry, yeah, and the Olympia.
Yeah, so whichever one it was, I think there was a problem with, there was another 2 events in that venue somewhere at the same weekend. So they were saying that we can't have everybody just piling in, so we're going to have to set up these new queue systems, and it's going to take you out the building, round the block, and all this stuff. So it was a nightmare. So they've changed it to this Hilton Hotel down at the seafront in Brighton, which is kind of cool, I guess, but I think it's annoyed quite a lot of people who'd already booked train tickets and hotels for London Comic Con. So so I was going to go to that. I'm not sure now because it's down in Brighton. I might do. Brighton's
I know what you
cool.
mean, because London's a lot easier for me to get to. Brighton. I love going down to Brighton, but it's not exactly easy for me to get to. So I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Because I'd be tempted to go to that as well. I mean, it's a bit like the Bournemouth one that I want to go to. I desperately want to go to, but bank holiday traffic, trains, it just puts you off straight away, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I might travel down to Brighton. I'm not sure, and I'm still waiting to hear back for tickets for the Phantom event in Chiswick.
Oh, Chiswick, yeah.
So hopefully hear about that, and then there's a couple of others on the radar as well, but I don't know. We shall see.
It's funny actually, because I've done the same. I was looking up. There's a website. I think I just typed in Doctor Who appearances, and it's the website itself doesn't look particularly good, but it is a brilliant website in terms of information, because it just basically lists everybody and where they're appearing. And I was having a look at that the other night, because like you, I kind of feel like I need to get some conventions in. I kind of, since we went to that one, when was that? Way back in
that was
way back in April. No, March, I don't know.
Yeah, that April, I think.
Yeah. So I kind of been sort of missing it and wanted to get sort of more involved, and especially when I see all these great videos and photos of people that have gone to like Bournemouth and that, and so I was doing the same, and I was having a look at this list to see what was coming up, and it's amazing actually the difference in price between some of the autographs. I mean, I see that John Hurt is going to be at that Brighton one, for example.
Yeah.
And I think his autograph's like £45 or something.
Yeah,
it's
it will
quite
be,
a lot. I mean, the guy's a legend. I probably would be very tempted to get it, but it's a lot of money, isn't it? I mean,
it is.
And then if you want the photo, it's another 45 and stuff. And so I like you. I was looking for something to do.
Yeah, I was thinking of trying to get to another 10th Planet event as well. They've got the Big Finish Day 7, which is at the end of September the 19th. But I mean, they've got some cool people there, but I'd like it if they had just another Doctor there. They've got Colin Baker, which is cool. But it would be cool if they had another Doctor there.
Yeah. I was tempted with that one. I really want Peter to appear. Peter's the one I'd like to meet to get a decent photo with. Yeah, I'd love to see him added to one.
Well, there is a couple coming up later than that. There's the Dimensions, which is over 3 days in October. And that, again, has got Colin Baker there, but no other Doctors at the moment. But there's another one that they do called TV and Movie Fest. And that's got Peter Davison there.
Is that Peterborough?
That's Peterborough.
Yeah, I looked at that one, yeah.
And that's got Peter Purvis as well. A couple of Star Wars people, stuff like that. So not just Who, but Peter Davison is at that one. So, I don't know. Maybe we should try and get to at least one more.
Oh, I think so, yeah. I definitely want to do some more. I was surprised to see Colin was still on for doing some of these because he's just had a operation, hasn't he, or something?
Yeah, he had a new knee sorted
He's
out.
had a
hasn't
new
he?
knee, but he's
Yeah.
obviously battling on because I thought he was tweeting and it was so close to the Bournemouth event. I thought, I wonder if he's going to cancel. But he obviously was down there because I saw pictures and he looked like he was having a whale of a time from the pictures I saw. So good on you, Colin, for just getting that knee done and straight back into it.
Yeah, fair play. He's really busy at the moment. He's got another
He is.
indie project on. You know that that crowd-funded movie that we spoke about a few episodes ago?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He's doing another one as well. He's in this horror comedy movie, and he's got makeup on, and they've done him up like this kind of demon-looking person.
Oh, right.
So yeah, he's busy with that, and now he's on the convention circuit still.
Always
So
on the convention circuit, isn't he? He does keep himself busy.
yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, actually, I must just while I think about it as well, I must just give a shout out and a thank you to our regular listener, Cousins 2019, because last podcast I was saying how I wanted to go to Bournemouth and meet William Russell. He was like, William Russell's top of my list of people I wanted to meet and get an autograph. Well, sadly, I couldn't go, as you know, and to my amazement, and this is just it really was very kind of Cousins. He actually got me William's autograph while he was down there, signed for Adam, William Russell. And he's tweeted me a picture saying, I've got this for you, I'll give it to you at the festival. Obviously, I'm going to give him the money. And I just thought that was really, really kind thing of him to do, because obviously he heard on the podcast, that I really want to meet him. So, Cousins, I know you listen every week, so thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah, he's a good guy, Cousins.
Yeah, really, really cool of him.
Good chap.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you guys know of any other cool Doctor Who conventions or anything going on, let us know. So the only other thing we've got really is the big one, isn't it? The festival.
Yeah, in November, yeah.
So-
Which, again, is coming around pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got hotels booked for that. We're all sorted.
Yeah, well, looking forward to that. Actually, I'll tell you, I must just mention a quick free thing to go to for anybody that's in the sort of Buckinghamshire area, because this week I took a little drive out to Aylesbury. And I think the reason I'm mentioning this is because I think it ends this weekend, and it's a free little pop-up museum exhibition of Doctor Who stuff. And I went this week. So if anybody's anywhere near Aylesbury, it's the Bucks County Museum, I believe it's called, but I'm not 100%. But it's where they have the Roald Dahl exhibition. So if you just tap in
Oh, yeah.
Aylesbury Roald Dahl exhibition, not to be confused with, there's another one in Little Milton or somewhere, Aylesbury. They've got a pop-up Doctor Who exhibition, which I believe ends this Saturday, which will be the 5th, depending on when you listen to podcasts. And it was great. It's quite a small little exhibition, but for a little free pop-up thing, it was brilliant. I loved it. They've got basically what they've done is they've asked anybody from the local area if they've got any Doctor Who merchandise, props, anything, to just, put on display for this little exhibition for a very limited time.
That's
So
cool.
so everybody around here is sort of, there's loads of old books, loads of old toys. There's a big Dalek, a red and gold Dalek as you walk in, a Cyberman helmet. It was brilliant. I mean, I was in heaven. There's a TARDIS that someone's apparently, somebody was telling me that somebody from UKIP owns it, but I don't know if that's true. It was somebody randomly started telling me that while we were looking at it. It was all a bit bizarre, but yeah, it's a really cool little pop-up exhibition in Aylesbury. It's, sadly, I only found out about it very late in the day. So, yeah, but if you can get to it this Saturday, well worth going to.
Okie dokie. That sounds really awesome.
Yeah, I could have spent ages in there. And it's quite small. It's just like a cool little white room filled with just Doctor Who stuff and loads of autographs as well. I noticed a lot of them were to Susan. So Susan's obviously contributed quite a lot to this exhibition because a lot of it was signed to her. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was a bit envious. She got pictures like Matt and David and John Pertwee. Yeah, very cool.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Aylesbury Vale. Get over there. if you
Yeah, it's
can.
worth a little trip out. We took a little drive out there to go to it especially, and it was worth it. I really enjoyed it. So, yeah, well recommended.
Good times.
Good stuff.
Should we do the news?
Right, let's get into the news.
Let's do it. First up in the news this week is quite a big one, I would say.
It is, yeah. I mean, fandom's exploded over this.
Yeah. So River Song is back.
For Christmas.
Yeah, for Crimbo. So this is kind of I'm going to say it's kind of out the blue. I think it's out the blue. The only thing we heard of previous to this was Alex Kingston was at a convention in the US somewhere. I think it was WonderCon or WizardCon or something like that. And a fan did say to her, is River coming back? And she did give a little... It wasn't a flat-out no, but it also wasn't anything to read into. I don't know if you remember, mate. It kind of went...
Yeah, I remember you talking about it,
Yeah, viral for a little bit, where she said, they haven't not asked me to come back or something like that.
Didn't she say something like River's story isn't done or something like that?
Something like that. And lo and behold, here she is. So she's not back for good, but she is back for the Christmas special.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because I like River. I think she's very cool, but I also like the fact that she's not in it all the time.
Yeah, I know.
You know, so I think it would have been not the best news if, like, it, you know, something like, oh, the Doctor's new companion will be River Song, or, you know, River's back, you know, as a regular, you know, for series 10 or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So I think it's quite cool that this is a one-off and she's back for the Crimbo special. So this has been announced officially. So it's not one of those things like, oh, River might be back. She's actually coming back.
Yeah, it's properly announced. Yeah.
Properly announced, which is always good.
And I think, you know, it's no surprise that the reaction from fandom has been very mixed to this. I mean, I probably shouldn't be, but I'm a little bit surprised actually how much reaction it has got, because it's been really divided, and those that sort of are against it are really quite savage. Like, you know, some of the comments I've been reading, some people are absolutely thrilled, and quite a lot of people are just like, no, her story's over, what's going on, Moffat's run out of ideas, blah blah blah. It's really sort of mixed up fandom. I have to be honest, me personally, when I heard it, I was actually thought, oh, cool, because I think River and Capaldi work quite well together, to be honest.
Yep.
Yeah. And the thing is, I think the main sort of thing with people not wanting River back is that she was a bit overused, you know, in the sort of Matt Smith era. And I agree with that, you know. I was getting a bit sick of her towards the end and stuff. It's like, oh, River's back again. And like you just said, it's better when she just pops up now and again. So I think that's why, because she was getting a bit sort of overdone and the story was sort of getting a bit dragged out. But for me personally, I'm pleased she's back for the Christmas special. I think it's I think it's going to be good to see her and Capaldi together. And I really want to know, I'm really hoping that we finally get an answer to how she got that blooming Sonic.
Oh yeah,
because we never found out. And I'm pretty sure. You know, I mean, I can't believe this is typical Stephen Moffat, isn't it? This is years ago since Silence in the Library, and we still haven't been given an answer. So I do hope that we finally get to see the Doctor hand her that Sonic just to tie up that story. But I'm not going to hold my hopes up because I know what the Moffats like. But it would be nice, wouldn't it?
It would be cool because it is a bit of a conundrum.
Yeah.
Because you think, how did... You know, in what scenario, in what circumstance did the Doctor give her that Sonic? Just like you said, you know.
And it's the sort of Tennant Eccleston Sonic, isn't it? Because that's the thing, isn't it? So we know, wow, Matt's obviously Sonic is so different. It's definitely not that one. So yeah, I hope that's part of it. I'm not going to get my hopes up, but I would love to see that finally explained.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And I think she'll be cool with Capaldi, don't you? I think they'll spin off each other quite well.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think she's had, you know, she's had a couple of goes at, you know, bouncing off like the younger guys to play the Doctor. So I think, you know, this will be a completely different chemistry, I think, because Capaldi's an older gentleman.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a completely different dynamic, and I'm quite looking forward to that. Apparently, she does go on to say that that Stephen Moffat is on glittering form, giving us an episode filled with humour and surprise guest casting. So it sounds like it could be a bit of a fun Christmas romp as usual.
Well, the last one was very dark, wasn't it? And so, yeah, the BBC have specifically used the word witty guest cast. I'm thinking they might be going for maybe a slightly lighter feel to this year's special, maybe. Yeah,
maybe. Yeah.
So for those fans that are horrified she's back, I hear you. I know where you're coming from, but I have to say, me personally, I'm I'm kind of looking forward to it. I think it'll be fun.
It will be cool. And, we don't even know if Clara's going to be with us at this point.
No, there's a lot of speculation she's not, because she's in Spain or somewhere at the moment, been tweeting pictures of herself. So
Yes.
that's kind of suggests it. But I mean, they've literally only just started filming it. So
Today, I
you
think,
know.
or yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, she could just be having a break, and it doesn't mean she's not in it, but yeah, it does fuel speculation.
Yeah. So River's back. Potentially good times.
Yeah, cool. Right, in other news, you like your audios, Gary. There's a couple of new audios coming out this
yeah.
month. Yeah. And one of them's read by Colin Baker, which is cool. It's a novelisation of The Two Doctors, which he's reading.
Yep.
And there's also a Seventh Doctor one coming out, which this is a cracking story, actually. The Curse of Fenric by Ian Briggs. And this one's going to be read by Terry Malloy. I've heard a couple of Terry's previous ones, actually. He's pretty good on audio. He puts a lot of effort in, a lot of gusto. Colin, I'm trying to think. I don't think Colin's read that many that I can think of. I might be wrong. He might have done Trial of a Time Lord one, I think. But yeah, I think he'll be really good reading The Two Doctors as well, because it's not a story. It's not one of the TV episodes I rank as one of his best, The Two Doctors. It's because Robert Holmes is a great writer, but I always feel that particular story falls a bit flat. But it might work better as an audio. But Curse of Fenric is a cracking story.
Yeah, it's I'm actually looking forward to these, because in terms of the whole world of audio, that space is kind of owned by Big Finish, really.
Yeah.
And rightly so. The stuff that they do is amazing. But let's not forget there are some other cool little gems that BBC Audio put out, and they're not like full on screen. I should say audio plays. I was going to say screenplay then. They're not full on production. Audio plays like we have with Big Finish, but
Yeah.
they can be very cool. And I quite like the idea of this Curse of Fenric story, read by Terry Malloy. It does sound very cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe one to check out. But yeah, there's lots of very cool things. I mean, I don't know how many of you guys have checked out any of the other BBC Audio stuff, but there's loads of them. I mean, I think the first one I listened to was, it was one read by David Tennant. It was a Dr. Donna story.
Oh, right, yeah.
And he did the voice of Donna really, really well. Like this kind of, West London kind of, almost Cockney kind of voice. It was really, really good. I can't remember which one it was now, but I've got it somewhere. And, it's like I said, as well as the Big Finish stuff that you can just put on and kind of, immerse yourself in that whole thing because the production is so good. It's almost the same thing with these novelizations as well, these audio recordings. I remember when I first listened to that David Tennant one, I was immersed in it for ages. I just stuck it on and I was lost for ages because I know it does depend on who's reading these, but Tennant did it really well. But yeah, looking forward to the Curse of Fenric. Could be a good one.
Yeah, I think it would be good. They're more, because they're more told in a sort of story format than like the Big Finish ones are more like acted out, aren't they, with sound effects? So these are sort of more, sometimes, like you said, if you sort of tend to drift off a little bit in Big Finish, with these, because it's sort of more of a story, they're sometimes easier to sort of follow if you've just got them on in the background, aren't they? So yeah, cool.
Coolio. Next up, so this is another piece of good news. The Underwater Menace. Looks like it's finally coming out.
Yeah.
Despite much disruption and controversy a couple of months ago. Because it was due out earlier this year, wasn't it? And then they cancelled it. The BBC went on to say that I'm sure they wrapped it up as an excuse of budget. If I remember.
They kind of... But yeah, this is what I find strange, that this has suddenly been put on the BBC shop and so under the radar as well. But the BBC killed it stone dead only a couple of months ago, didn't they? They actually put out an official statement. It's saying it's not coming out because we are working on other projects. Stay tuned for more. So they killed it stone dead, and then without any fuss at all, no announcement, nothing, they kind of just added it to the shop. And Doctor Who, you don't get anything past the Doctor Who fan. So, this suddenly went mad. I mean, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
It was all over Facebook. It was all over Twitter. It's, there's been a sort of few things between now and then where it's sort of turned out to be false. But, you know, there was no questioning this is the genuine thing. It says starring Patrick Troughton. So, yeah, I just find it really odd that they've just sort of doing it under the radar. And it's almost as if, well, okay, we'll put it out then, but we don't really want anyone to know. And, you know what I mean? It's just like, oh, maybe it's because, I don't know if it's down to the petition, because there was a massive petition to get this released, whether they just sort of gave in but feel embarrassed, or I just don't know. It just seems really odd that it's just suddenly been slyly added to the schedule. You know, hasn't even got any artwork, nothing about whether the episodes are going to be telly snaps or animation. Very unlikely they're going to be animation, I think. Sounds to me like it's going to be... Well, the only details I can find on it at the minute, if you go to Annika Will's website, because you can order it from her website, signed by her.
That's right.
It's a little bit more. I think it's $18.99 rather than $13.99 from the BBC shop. But this is the only place I can see anything listed. Now, obviously, I don't know if don't know where she's got this information, but if you look at her website, it says it's fully remastered episodes 2 and 3, commentary on episodes 2 and 3, Fishy Tales, making of documentary, Tales of TV Centre Part 2, and production subtitles. So that's what she's given us the extras on it. I mean, none of that's... I can't find that mentioned anywhere else. So I don't know where they've got the information. But, yeah, I mean, I'll definitely be buying this. Obviously, I'm a completist. I want this in my collection. I know that the story is meant to be a bit... I was going to say wishy-washy, and that was totally unintended. But, you know what I mean? I know that it's not meant to be great, but it's Troughton. It's something I haven't seen. I'm definitely getting this. And I can't believe I've seen people moaning about the price of $13.99. I've seen fans on Facebook saying, "Oh, I'm not paying $13.99 for 2 episodes of blah blah blah." Okay, well, I hear you, but come on, it's like,
it's not.
It's unreleased Doctor Who. There's no question that I'm getting this.
Yeah,
and we have to support it. If you know what I mean, if you don't buy these things, then the BBC will not. You know what I mean? They're just sales are. The BBC are a business in terms of their DVDs. You know what I mean? It's if this doesn't sell, then they will see it as that they were right to have knocked off the schedule. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's some cool. It does sound like there's some cool extra features with this one as well. But yeah, it's also strange that the BB shop have got absolutely no information at all on their website. They've got no cover art. They've got no details or anything like that. It's just the title and then a price, pre-order. But yeah, the Annika Wills site has got. I'm guessing that's the confirmed cover art.
I hope so, because it's really cool. I like it.
Yeah, it's cool. So yeah, signed edition from Annika Wills, $18.99, or pre-order it from the Beeb, $13.
And it's got release date of 26th of October this year. So yeah, do you know what? I've got just the hairs on my wooden leg tell me that something's going to go wrong. I just don't know. I think because it's had such a troubled release, until I've got this in my hands, I don't think I'm going to sort of believe it somehow.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And the other thing, feeling. Yeah, the other thing that gives me like very tiny alarm bells is that because there was such hoo-ha around this particular release with cancellations and all that kind of stuff. I get the feeling that because they haven't announced it at all, it's just suddenly appeared on the website with no cover art. I get the feeling it could be a mistake.
Yeah, because I got to tell you, they do that quite a lot. They accidentally put up the new Sherlock Christmas special on the shop the other day. It was up there, pre-order, blah, blah, and it vanished within an hour. Because I was thinking, advertising that already? And yeah, obviously that was a complete mistake. And I wondered, that's exactly what I thought when I saw it come up. I bet this is a mistake. And now, now it's gone everywhere, and they've just, I don't know. Until I've got it in my hands, I won't believe it. Yeah. Because I just can imagine this being put back again. Do you know what I mean? I can imagine them delaying the date of it and stuff, and I don't know. Yeah. I hope not.
Yeah. Well, the only saving grace really is the Annika Wills website has clearly got all the info.
Yeah.
And they've got a pre-order on their site as well, on her site as well. Sorry. So, yeah. It should be cool, but
I'm tempted to get it from her site. Actually, I think as it's the last release, I know it's a few quid more, but I'm actually tempted to get it from hers signed. I think,
yeah,
for a few quid more. Yeah, cool.
Last up
in the news,
we've got a little nugget of of information, depending on when you guys are listening to this podcast. We're recording it on Thursday the 3rd of September, and it will go out tomorrow on Friday as normal, but it will go out early, so back to normal time, 7:30. On this day, so as in Friday, the Beeb are going to be releasing some new information with about the Doctor Who Festival. So far they've announced the main guests that are going to be there, but I'm pretty sure they're going to announce at least 2 more guests to the roster tomorrow.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it's going to be at least 2 people. And some more photo ops as well, which you'll be glad to hear, Adam.
Oh, I haven't got any hair left to pull out.
Let's not go down rant road today.
No, okay.
But yeah, so that's pretty cool. So the Doctor Who Festival, if you're going at any point, you would have seen all of the details on the website for who's going. So Capaldi, Jenna Coleman, Stephen Moffat, all those people.
Actually, Coleman's not been confirmed, has she?
Huh?
No, she's not there.
No?
That's why I'm wondering if she's going to be one of the people
My mistake.
announced.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking it might be her, it might be River, maybe. Or who's the other one I thought hadn't been announced? I don't know. If I was putting my money on it, I think it might be Jenna Coleman and perhaps Alex Kingston, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. So that's my mistake, sorry. Yeah, so those people have already been announced tomorrow or today, sorry, as you're listening to this. Just keep your email inbox open and live. So when that pops up, I'm assuming there'll be a link to go off and pre-order your photo op. So I would suggest if you want to get photos, if you're up for that, I would suggest you try and do that as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to end up like Adam with a fuming headache,
With a really red face.
Yeah, stomping around the house, something fierce, just throwing things, and it's not a good time.
No, it's not good. No, I was going to say I will be checking it out. So I think they're announcing who it is at 9:00, and then those tickets go on sale at 10:00. I think
that's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'll be having a look to see who it is. To be honest with you, I'm going to try not to get too worked up about this because whoever it is, the only one I really wanted was Capaldi, and thanks to Epic Who man Tom Dix, looks like I'll be sharing a photo with him, so I will kind of get a photo with Capaldi. But he was the only one that I was prepared to pay £30 for.
Yeah.
If they're £30, I don't think there's anybody else I'd actually pay that money for. So I probably won't be tearing my hair out too much at this. I'm looking forward to seeing who is announced, but if they're £30, the same as the other photo ops, where I won't be bidding for them anyway. I won't be doing it.
Yeah.
It's too much money.
No, Regia. Yeah. But it's cool, though, that they're expanding the lineup.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's exciting to have a bit more news coming through. And there's something about more activities as well, which is good. So,
yeah, they need to provide a little bit more, I reckon, because there's been so much press about how expensive the tickets are. I guess they need to provide as much value for your hard-earned cash, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
You don't want to have a little minute? No, you good?
No, I'm good. I'm calm this time.
You're calm.
I was gonna say, yeah, it's because of the money. You see, I mean, when I was poised, my finger at the button, ready for Capaldi. That was the one I wanted. So everything else is just, yeah. I'm cool.
Okay.
He says.
Yeah.
Tomorrow the computer will be going out the window.
Yeah. So we'll probably find out tomorrow if there are photos and you wanted to get them, what your thing is, because your Twitter feed will obviously be very happy or very angry.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's going to do it for the news.
Yeah, cool. That's it. Yeah, some good bits of news there.
Sure.
Okay.
Adam, my good man. What are we doing this week?
This week we are doing Boomtown.
It's the extrapolator. I've disconnected it, but it's still feeding off the engine. It's using the TARDIS. I can't stop it.
Never mind, can't. It's going to rip open the planet.
What is it? What's happening?
Oh, just little me.
One wrong move and she snaps like a promise.
I might have known.
I've had you bleating all night, poor baby. Now shut it. You, Flyboy, put the extrapolator at my feet.
Annette Badland. I was just looking up her name as the Margaret / Slovene woman.
Oh yeah,
She's got this episode's got loads of things that I can't pronounce. And I was trying to write them down on my notes yesterday, and one of those things is the Slovene name that she's got. I think it's like Blonde something.
yeah.
I gave up. I just wrote down Margaret in the end, which is a human name. But Blonde or Blom, I can't remember. Somebody I don't know. And then something really long. Yeah, and it's also got that other word. I don't know if you can say it. Fat. What's the planet?
Raxacoriea fallopatorius.
That's the one. I thought you could say it. I was thinking yesterday, when we get to that point, I'll just get Gary to say it because
Yeah.
he can do it.
It's
Yeah,
an easy one now.
yeah. So Boomtown, what's it all about?
Boomtown. So, as we all know, back in 2005, when Doctor Who came bounding back onto our screens, this was I guess this was the episode that was kind of tucked in between a very, very good episode and the two-part finale.
Yeah,
So it's kind of an episode that gets forgotten, I would say, out of this entire series,
yeah,
because it's often viewed as not one of the strongest episodes, should we say, in this series. And it doesn't help that it's sandwiched in between two very, very good stories.
yeah. I think that's fair to say.
So it's kind of an easy plot to follow, this one. The Doctor and Rose and Jack, who is on board with these guys at the moment, have parked the TARDIS smack bang in the middle of Cardiff Bay because there is a rift that's been closed but does leak some juice, power, battery stuff, whatever, that they just plop the TARDIS right on top, leave it for a couple of days, and it's charged up and onwards they go. However, as they're exploring TARDIS and sitting down having a very English cup of tea, the Doctor sees Margaret on the front of the paper, and obviously he knows that she is a member of the family, what they called, the something family.
The Slovene.
The Slovene. But they have a family name, and I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't think. Yeah.
Anyways, he knows that they're the Slovene, and that she's now mayor of Cardiff. So they immediately go to knock down the door, find out what she's up to. She attempts to run. They chase her down, and then they threaten to take her back to her home planet of Raxacoriea fallopatorius. However, she then drops the nugget that if they do take her back, she'll be given the death penalty. So then it's a bit of a guilt trip to try and get her to stop those guys taking her back. And in the meantime, she tries to take down the Doctor as well in a funny little restaurant scene.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yep. And all the whole time that this is going on, there's been this plan in the background where she's constructed this big nuclear power plant, quite strangely, in Cardiff, and that's gonna self-destruct, completely wipe out the planet. But in doing so, it will open the rift. She can jump onto this surfboard extrapolator thing, and then basically surf her way to freedom.
Yeah.
Essentially, and it's down to the Doctor and his gang to foil said plan, which they do quite comfortably, really. And there we are.
That's it. Yeah, no, that's a perfect summary. I gotta say, I think there's some when she describes how she's going to be sentenced to death. She goes into quite a lot of detail, and it's really horrible, isn't it? She's like basically saying she's going to be turned into soup, and she's asking them, which one of you can look me in the eye as my executioner and stuff. And it's pretty good stuff, actually. That I think,
Yeah,
that's the kind of crux of it, isn't it? It's kind of it's making you think. She's actually sort of asking the questions that perhaps viewers should be asking, like, who's put the Doctor, who's given the Doctor the right to make him her executioner, and and is he going to stay and watch, or is he just going to, turn his back and pretend he didn't have anything to do with it? And I mean, it does throw up some good questions, this episode, I think.
Yeah, it does throw up some interesting kind of what's the word? The like messages for the viewer in terms. Like morale messages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So story is fairly simple. So I guess it's down to just the cast really to bring to life. I will admit a little bit a fairly mundane, very oversimple kind of story, really.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was one of the sort of budget light ones because it's all set in Cardiff. I mean, we get some nice, the direction's quite good. We get some nice shots of Cardiff and all that, don't we? So
It's very much
it's not Cardiff pretending to be London for once. We're actually, it's quite nice that it's just like, oh, we're actually in Cardiff. Okay.
yeah, it's very cool. It's almost like a tourist board advert for Cardiff in some ways, and it does a pretty good job. I mean, because that whole Cardiff Bay area is I love it there. I love going there. It's really, really cool.
I've never been, and watching this yesterday just makes you want to go so much.
Oh, it's really nice around there. So Cardiff gets a good old plug in this episode. And one thing that I did find odd about the whole thing, and I'm not sure if it was intentional or not, was that the TARDIS is parked basically right in this kind of open area where you've got the Cardiff Millennium Centre and you've got the bay and stuff. And there's this huge waterfall thing, this huge chrome metal looking rectangle basically, which is a little waterfall. And as we all know, that is the entrance to the Torchwood base of operations.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, as story would have it, in terms of canon and timelines and stuff like that, I think in the timeline and when this episode takes place, the entrance to Torchwood should be there.
Yeah, I think technically it should.
Technically it should, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
But there's no... Whereas Jack's running around and legging around with the Doctor and those guys in episode, he doesn't make any reference to it or anything at all.
No,
It's kind of
but
weird.
but Torchwood hadn't aired, had it?
Exactly.
But I know what you're saying in terms of the actual timeline. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's weird. So I think Russell Davis would have been writing or at least had, a load of stuff down, for Torchwood at this point.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Because it wasn't... because when did Torchwood come out in terms of the Doctor Who broadcast years? What year did Torchwood air?
Well, now you're asking.
Come on, Adam.
Because the memory plays tricks. I don't know. In my head, I'm thinking it was around the sort of middle of Tennant's era, but I could be completely wrong. I can't remember.
It was 06.
06, was it?
Yes, so it would have gone... So, hold on a second. So this aired in June, 4th of June, 05, and Torchwood came out in October the following year. So this would have definitely been on RTD's radar and getting all that stuff done, because they would have had to have gone in production for it 6 months later or 10 months later or something. So it's kind of a strange one. I just find it very odd that, the whole thing about Torchwood and the entrance to it being in Cardiff and all that sort of stuff, that they decided to then go on to produce Torchwood and have all that stuff going on around when this episode was taking place. Kind of weird.
Yeah, I see what you mean. And I find Captain Jack's character quite different in Torchwood to his Doctor Who sort of persona, in the sense that he's a lot lighter in Doctor Who, isn't it? The character is more fun, jokey, whereas in Torchwood he's quite sort of serious, gun ho, sort of Captain Jack, isn't he?
Yeah.
Because watching him in this yesterday, he's quite a different Jack, I think, from what we get to see in Torchwood. A bit more sort of fun, easygoing, sort of Jack, but still very much in control. I mean, I love it when he comes up with the plan and the Doctor's just like, who's in charge? And Jack's just like, okay, but yeah, I like the character of Captain Jack. Funny enough, with the Talk of River song coming back yesterday, so many people were saying how much they would rather have Captain Jack back in Doctor Who, the River song. And I'd love to see him back, actually. I'd love to see him come back. I think he'd be quite fun with Capaldi.
You reckon?
He's a good character. Yeah, I like Jack. I like Captain Jack. He's one of those characters that I would only want to pop up now and again.
Oh, like River.
Yeah. I mean, I think he works well in Torchwood, but in terms of Doctor Who, I just think it'd be good if he sort of made an appearance, but perhaps just a one-off for a while.
Yeah. Well, if the new Torchwood audio stuff does really well from Big Finish, it could be a incentive to bring him back on the show, maybe.
Yeah, well, he would love to come back, wouldn't he? I mean, John Barrowman's always saying how much he'd love to come back on into Doctor Who. So yeah, he'd be there in a heartbeat, I think.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
So what's your overall feelings of this episode then? Do you find it a bit of do you think it's a bit of a filler? Do you think it's a bit flat?
It's one of those episodes for me where I don't really have much feeling towards it.
Okay.
Either way, to be honest with you, it's not one of those episodes where once I finish watching it, I'm like, oh man, that was awful. I don't feel like that after watching it. But on the other hand, I also don't feel like, well, that was one of those episodes where I just love watching Doctor Who.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? I'm kind of, and I hate being. If one of the things that I hate, Adam, is indifference.
Right.
I hate feeling that way, and I feel that way about most things as well. So it doesn't matter what it is. If it's a movie or a TV show or a podcast, whatever it is, I hate people being indifferent. I'd rather people lean to one side or the other. So I hate myself for feeling indifferent about this episode, but I don't know any other way to kind of express that about it.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean, because you just said, I mean, if you got the box set out, this is one of those episodes that sort of goes into that category of the one that you wouldn't put on because there's a lot stronger episodes, isn't it? So it's one of those episodes. It's not bad, but you get the box set out, it's not likely to be the one that you pick to put on.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it is weird though, because I don't mind watching it. It's kind of got a nice. It's got a kind of nice Scooby-Doo-esque kind of fun vibe to it for me.
Yeah.
There's like a few scenes where, like when Mickey first goes into the TARDIS, and the banter going on between the Doctor, Jack, and Rose is it's quite funny to me, and it's quite cool.
It is. Yeah.
And then Mickey's kind of like the odd one out in the group at this point. And there's some other things as well, like. It's quite a funny episode, even though it's got like a slightly darker undertone to it, because essentially they're going to be trafficking somebody to their execution. It has got some humour in it. Like there's another funny scene where Margaret, the Doctor just goes into town hall and says to her assistant, tell her it's the Doctor, and then you just hear this like cup smashing, and then he's like, she's climbing out the window, isn't she? So they chase after her, and then there's that bit where she's running away. She teleports, and then he just sonics, and then she comes back, and then she runs off again. And
I love that scene. Yeah,
it's quite cool, and that's what I mean by this this Scooby-Doo kind of vibe, where I think she even mentions like something like later on in the episode. She even mentions a line, something like, and I would have got away with it as well if it wasn't for,
Yes, I hadn't picked up on that. Yes, she does. I'm pretty sure she does. Yeah. I love that scene you're talking about. That's the thing. I mean, I think I went into this episode thinking I would feel like you've just said. I remember it being a very flat filler episode. So I kind of put it on yesterday, went in expecting it to be that, but I ended up enjoying it a lot more than I thought. And that's not to say I think it's an amazing episode, because I don't. But there's a lot more to it than I remembered, and I think there's some really nice bits in it that make it enjoyable to watch. And that's one of them. The restaurant scene between the Doctor and Margaret, I think, is brilliant, and it's done really well, because I think it could have been played a bit over the top, and it would have gone into sort of too comical. But the way they do it, and the way it's the timing and stuff, like when it's the three ways to sort of she's trying to escape, isn't she? They're having a meal at the table, and the first one is she poisons the wine while distracting him, but the Doctor just switches them round because he realizes. Then she goes to fire a dart out of his finger, and he just casually catches it and goes, I knew you could do that. And then the final one is her breath, where she goes to sort of kill him with her breath, and he sprays her with something. And the way it's done, it's just a really cool little fun scene, and bits like that make this episode better than I remembered. Actually, I was quite enjoying watching it yesterday. I think it falls flat in the middle and sort of a bit towards the end. I think once we get into sort of Mickey and Rose going on about their relationship and stuff, it starts to drag a little. And the thing is, that's quite important, because this is the first sort of series of the reboot, and we do need those scenes, but it does kind of, I don't know, somehow it sort of took me out of the story. I was a little bit, I don't know. There's bits where it works because we get to see everybody doing their own thing. Like Jack's really happy mending that surfboard thing, and the Doctor's having his very deep conversation with Margaret, and then you've got Mickey and Rose discussing their relationship and the fact that she keeps disappearing, and they're on off, and Mickey starts seeing someone else. So there's good stuff going on, but it did sort of feel a bit sluggish in the middle for me. And I think that's sort of why it sort of kills it a bit, because there's not quite enough going on to sort of bring the episode up. If I think, like you said about the story, there's stuff in there, but it's not quite enough to sort of bring it up to a great episode. But there is some nice bits in it, and I think some good performances and stuff. I like the team as well. I like having Jack, Mickey, Rose, and the Doctor. They work really well together. You'd think it might be a bit too crowded and that people would get lost sort of thing in the mix, but they actually work quite well together. Like you just said, there's some good lines between the cast and really good humour in there.
Yeah.
Between them all. It does work really good, yeah.
I quite like that about this episode. And you're right, there is a danger sometimes where you've got a slightly larger cast than normal, that people do get kind of shoved into the background sometimes.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But no, they all worked pretty well. I did find Rose a little bit annoying in this one. I found her a little bit not too nice as usual towards Mickey.
Yeah, poor old Mickey, especially when he just walks off at the end, and she's because she just kind of, I mean, he could be dead. He could have been crushed under some of that falling rock, and she kind of just walks to the TARDIS because she doesn't know that he's just walked off. She doesn't see him, does she? So she kind of just walks in and goes, "Oh, he's gone." I'm thinking, well, he could be lying under a big pile of rubble.
Could be a goner.
She doesn't look for him very hard, does she? But I feel a bit sorry for Mickey in this, as I do throughout a lot of Mickey's episodes, actually.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's so I kind of felt that way a bit, for Rose. I thought she was a little bit, because she does have a couple of moments like that throughout this series with Mickey, where she kind of strings him along a little bit, and she's not, the best. I'm not really sure they'd be boyfriend and girlfriend after episode 1, really. But
no, I don't think so. No.
But even so, you can tell, and she can tell as well, that Mickey is very much still into her, and loves her, and but she doesn't really kind of be upfront with him early on, and says, something along the lines of, my life has changed at the moment. I haven't got time, literally. For a boyfriend right now, so let's just call it quits. She kind of just keeps giving him the odd hug and the odd look, and
she's stringing him along a bit, really. She wants him, but she also wants to she wants a cake and eat it, I suppose, is the best way. She wants to go and travel with the Doctor, but she kind of wants him there when she gets back, because she does get, when he says he's seeing Trisha Delaney, I think it is, she sort of pretends not to be angry, but then gets really cross about it. So clearly she's sort of, she wants her cake and eat it, basically. Yeah. But the thing is, the other good bit about this episode is the sort of moral dilemma it throws up, and I think the way it's done that's such a nice idea, just having the Doctor sit down at this table and chat with the person that he's going to get executed. It's an interesting scenario, and it does bring the episode up for me, because I was sat there thinking, this is quite interesting what she's saying, about the Doctor just always sort of moving on because he daren't look back, or something like that. I can't remember what she says, but she, it throws up some interesting things that the Doctor does go in and kind of act as, what's the word? Not God, but do you know what I mean? He kind of goes in, sorts stuff out, and then leaves, and lets everyone else deal with all the sort of death and consequences. So I know this is something that's come up a lot more as the series has gone on, and actually I think in a way this does it better because it's more subtle. Like, in the series now, we sort of get it a bit thrown in our face of the Doctor being, am I a good man? And, I do all this, and it's kind of really in your face. Whereas this is just quite nice, the fact they just sat down and she's saying, you do realise that when I go back, I'm going to be boiled and cooked and turned to soup. And, it
sounds quite horrific, actually.
It does. Well, her description of what the death penalty is going to be on her planet is horrific. And Chris is good in the serious scenes. I mean, I do, as we've said before, I do rate Chris highly as the Doctor. I think he's very good at the serious stuff. He's not so good at the comedy, and the sort of gurning face that he sometimes pulls is a bit cringy. But he is a good Doctor, I think. I like Chris. He's good at the best bit of comedy is that bit with the window, where it's like she's jumping out the window, isn't she? Yeah, he's good at some bits, but
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll come on to Chris in a moment, but
Okay.
Yeah, so Rose and Mickey, they're kind of Rose doesn't really do much either in this episode.
No, she doesn't. No.
As far as companions go, she doesn't do a great deal, and Mickey's just kind of very mopey and understandably, miffed. And then Jack, I do think he's he's had better episodes, put it that way. I prefer Captain Jack in the Tennant episodes.
Yeah.
As opposed to this one. He's not terrible. He's not, he's not anything to put you off the episode, too much. But he is a little bit. I don't know how to describe him in this one. I find him a little bit OTT, possibly.
Yeah.
He very much plays up to the cheeky, flirty, kind of filthy mind character that is actually quite cool about his character, but he does go slightly OTT, I think, in this one, and I think the way he delivers some of his lines as well is a little bit, I don't know, a little bit like unnatural to him in some ways, because and I don't mean that like too kind of as a black mark over his character's head or anything like that, or him as an actor, but like when he's going through. When they find, the model power plant and the Doctor just rips the base off and it's that extrapolator surfboard thing.
Yeah.
The way that Captain Jack just goes mental and starts describing it and stuff like that, I find that a bit kind of not needed.
A bit cringy.
Yeah, like the way he goes through like all these things like, oh my God, it's this, tribal physical waveform macrokinetic extrapolator and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, okay.
I wonder if that's down to because I was thinking Captain Jack obviously is a Moffat creation, isn't he? It was written by Stephen Moffat, and perhaps being written by Russell T Davies, he didn't quite. Yeah, perhaps he's sort of he's gone a bit over the top with the writing there for him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm. And he's very I don't know. He's quite loud as well with certain things. Like,
that's it. Yeah, he's more in your face in this. I think that's what I meant earlier when I was saying he's very different to sort of how he is in Torchwood. I think in this episode, he's very loud and in your face.
Yeah,
in this one.
Yeah, like everything's doctor.
Yeah,
everything's quite loud, and he's basically throwing statements around a lot in this one. There's not really there isn't, other than like the little flirty bits, there isn't much conversation with him and anybody else. He's just throwing around these big words and statements and stuff. And so, but he's still kind of enjoyable. He's still quite cool. Old Jack.
Yeah. He's still, as I say, I think as a sort of TARDIS team, they work quite well. It's nice actually at the start just to see them having fun and laughing and joking in the restaurant, having some sort of what do they call it, time out. It's quite nice, and I love the way it just suddenly switches, and the Doctor's like, and I was having such a nice time or such a good day or whatever, and I think they're quite a nice little unit. Yeah. What do you think of Annette Badland? I just love that name. It just sounds bad anyway. Annette Badland as Margaret / Blom / Slovene.
Yeah.
Think she gives a good performance?
It sounds like what her character name should be.
It does. Yeah, it really does.
I think she's very cool in this. I think, I think she's very cool. She's got this good knack of and I like this with actors where they go between like various emotions quite easily. So you've got this scene where she's in the TARDIS and she looks very kind of scared and stuff, and then she can go immediately to very quite scary almost.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. And then there's quite a few different emotions that she can do quite well as an actor. And so she's got this very kind of stern face. There's a scene where she's in the TARDIS and she says, "Let's see if anybody can look me in the eye."
Oh, that's great.
And she's looking between the different people, and she's got this very stern, almost half grin, smug kind of face.
Yeah.
And then she can go to being very scared and angry. So I think, Annette Badland as an actor is very good at doing that. I just feel that her character is a little bit we haven't really. There isn't anything else for us to see. You know, we already know what character she is, and they try to write it in a way that they have these little. She has these little glimpses of a change in her, like where she spares the life of the reporter in the toilet and stuff. You know, but that's not really enough for us to really get anything else into the character.
Yeah, and actually,
You
the
know.
bit with that in the toilet where she spares that one was like, she sort of first backs down when she says she has a boyfriend, and I always think that's a bit strange because she's killed lots of other people that would have had wives and kids and stuff. I always think it would have made more sense if she'd have said, and we're expecting our first baby, if then she'd have sort of questioned killing her. Because I always just think that's a bit odd. I mean, it's a good scene, but as soon as the girl says she's got a boyfriend, Margaret suddenly starts getting all, teary and, oh, maybe I won't kill her then. And I'm thinking it would have made more sense. You know, like all the other people she's killed will have had wives and families and stuff. So why does that bother her? So that could have been better. Do you know what I mean? If she'd have said, yeah, we're expecting our kid, like she goes on to say, you could then see why she might spare her life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'll read you.
But I think Annette Badland does a good performance. I like her in this. I think she does do the comedy and the serious quite well. There's a bit where she says dinner in bondage, which I've never noticed before.
I didn't. I've forgotten about that as well.
I wrote that down. So did I actually rewound it? So did I hear that right? Dinner in bondage. And she's sort of got a really sly grin on her face. And actually, that's one good thing about her. The look of her, she suits the part she's playing, I think. I think she's quite well cast.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
she does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think it's a shame that they haven't really got much more. There isn't enough written about that character to bring out any more for us to get into, really, because we're so familiar with her from the previous episodes near the beginning of this series. We already know that she's potentially evil and calculating and stuff. And the fact that they try to write in these little nice moments is not really, I mean, exactly what the Doctor says to her as a character. You know, just because the wind's in the right direction one day, you've spared somebody. It's kind of weird that there's an odd parallax there.
But I love the way she turns that round. And she says, well, what, can't you do that? Can't you just let one go for a change? I really like the way she turns that bit on him.
Yeah, that's cool, actually. Yeah.
But also, I mean, because that's the thing. When I was watching this episode, I have seen it a few times, and I was thinking all the way through, how does she get out of it? I was thinking, does he let her go? How does this? I actually couldn't remember the resolution. And obviously, it turns out that she looks into the TARDIS and regresses to an egg, and they're going to take her back, and she can start a whole life again. So basically, she's given a second chance at life. I'm just wondering what you thought of that resolution, because that's the thing. All the way through, I was thinking, how does she get out of it? And it is quite a difficult one to wrap up. I was thinking, there's not many ways, does the Doctor let her go? I was thinking, how's Russell going to tie this up? And I think it's probably quite a difficult job to do, given the actual story itself and her describing what's going to happen to her. So what do you reckon to the fact that she gets turned into an egg and given a second chance of life? Do you think it's a good resolution?
Yeah, it's a different way of doing things, isn't it? They could have gone down the road of having it quite a predictable or traditional kind of ending for a character like that, where because I think the Doctor has these moments, in certain stories where he doesn't really. I mean, an episode that comes to mind is the Family of Blood episode, where Tennant's character, as he was written, that he didn't execute that family at the end. He gave them suitable punishments at the end, and they could have gone down that road, with this Doctor, where he kind of has almost a change of heart and doesn't take her back to her home planet for execution, but does give her a kind of suitable torture and punishment and stuff. But they didn't do that. They went down a different road, which I think was quite cool. I mean,
that's what I like about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's different. It's not something that you would expect. And I'm pretty sure that people watching this for the very first time wouldn't have seen that coming either. So I do quite like it. It's kind of a cool, different direction that they took that, which is quite cool.
Yeah, I think so. I was going to say it's a strange sort of get out, but I like it because it's different. And I just all the way through I was thinking, if I was writing this episode, like you said, there's only sort of so many outcomes you can come up with. And like you said, one of them is that he punishes her, one of them is that he takes her to her death. So to come up with this idea that she sort of get a second chance. I think it's a nice little twist, nice little way to sort of wrap up the story, if you like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Before we get on to Mr. Eccleston, I quite like the something that I quite like throughout series 1 is the Bad Wolf thing that runs throughout the entire thing. Every episode, it seems to have a mention of it.
Yeah.
And it actually popped up. I was watching. What was I watching the other day? I think it was on the Watch channel that we have here in the UK. I think it was Turn Left.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah.
Turn Left. So at the very end, where Donna gets reunited with the Doctor, they have that little scene where she tells him that in her vision or dream, whatever, that there was this blonde girl, and the Doctor just freaks out. He's like, "What did she say? What did she say?" And she's like, "Oh, Bad Wolf." So I quite like that they cemented this really cool theory, this whole Bad Wolf thing, and I like the fact that it's like an underlying theme that runs through this series as well. And it's not too, I'm going to use this in quotes, it's not too Moffat, where it's not something that's going to run for years, unexplained, and then will pop up at the end of a series in like 3 years' time or something. I quite like the fact that it's a series 1 arc, and kind of gets closed off at the end almost. So I really like that, and I like the fact that they've used like the Welsh, the Welsh language to do that, and the Doctor instantly recognises it. And I loved that whole scene, like the look of terror on his face, where he's like, everyone's like, "Well, what does it mean?" And he's like, "Bad Wolf, 2 words following us around every," he's that whole thing is really like just petrified almost, and then literally in a snap, he's like, "Oh, nothing," and then off they go.
Probably does it. Yeah.
So I really like how they just throw this little nugget of Bad Wolf in each episode, and this is a really good example of that.
Yeah, I love the whole Bad Wolf thing.
Yeah, it's cool.
I was thinking it because the next episode is called Bad Wolf, and obviously I don't know if yours did, but mine's got the trailer for it.
Yes.
At the end of this episode, and I was thinking, it's such a mental trailer, isn't it? And it's it's got like the weakest link, Big Brother, what not to wear. It's sat on paper. It sounds like a disaster. Do you know what I mean? You sort of think Doctor Who and the weakest link. Oh, what is going on?
Yeah.
But those 2 episodes are brilliant. And I was just thinking what a mental trailer that is at the end of this story. I just think if you'd never seen those episodes, or if you watch it for the first time and you saw that, you'd be thinking, what on earth's going on next week? And I love that. It's really bold and crazy. And, for considering this is the first sort of series of the reboot, they were really going for it, weren't they? I mean, this is quite a bold episode in itself. It's not the strongest or the best, but it's bold in the fact that this is the first series, and to do an episode like this that takes its time and is quite sort of slow in places, it was sort of quite a brave thing to do, because they might have sort of felt like they needed to do sort of non-stop action, fast-paced, to get the sort of to get the audience. So it's quite bold as an episode, this, I think. In fact, the whole first series is quite bold overall, I think. I think they really got it right. There's some great stuff in series. Do we call it series 1? I'm never quite sure what to say.
Series 1, yeah.
Yeah, Eccleston, yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. I really like this series, actually. I really like it. There's kind of a... I think I've mentioned this before, possibly. This series, to me, feels like enough time has gone past where it's kind of got that it's kind of modern classic feel to it. Mm-hmm. Because the opening credits and the theme are, not as kind of big and bold and cinematic that we have nowadays. So it's almost like TV from a simpler time.
Yeah,
if you know what I mean.
I do. Yeah, I do know what you mean.
So I've got a lot of love for this series, and also when I started watching Who, obviously I'd seen an episode of a Matt Smith from a Matt Smith series. So for me, this was like my first binge watch into modern Who.
Yeah.
So I've got a warm spot for series 1 and Eccleston. So,
and you were saying about the sort of Moffatisms as well. And one of the things I loved about this episode in particular is that it does tie in with loads of other episodes that we've already seen from series 1, but it doesn't matter if you haven't seen any of them. It makes no difference. So, like the Rift and the Slovene and Cat Jack. I mean, there's loads of bits. Bad Wolf. There's loads of little tie-ins with the previous episodes. But if you haven't seen them, it makes no difference at all. And that's what kind of, like you said, with some of the later ones under Moffat. And this is not an attack on Moffat, but you know what I'm saying. Like you said, much more simpler times.
Yeah.
And it works better because it's not so in your face and, well, hang on, what does that mean? It's not so clunky. Like we watched The Black Spot recently, didn't we? And there's that scene with the woman in the eye patch in the door. I mean, that would make no sense to any if you didn't know that. Do you know what I mean? So there's none of that in this. If you've been watching the series up to this point, you'll get all the nice little sort of bits. But if you haven't, it makes no difference. And that's what I like about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Simpler times, happier days.
And then lastly, Mr. Eccleston. Mainly on form.
Mainly on form, yeah.
Mainly.
It's not my favourite performance by him. Nothing wrong with it, but he's, as I say, I like him doing the serious when he's trying, because there's quite a lot of comedy in this, but it's not over the top comedy and it's nicely written. But he's not so good at the comedy for me, Chris. So yeah, a good performance, but it's not my favourite of his.
Okay, I'll read you. It's almost like, and I think he can be good at humour. I think, but it just needs to be. I think we just need no disrespect at all to Russell T Davies. I think it just needed a better script maybe for him to have that humour thing going on.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
If you know what I mean, it's and there are some funny little lines in it, and it's more so his face really for me that's funny. Like he's got this really kind of big grin on his face, like that scene I mentioned earlier when Margaret's legging off down the street and he's pressing a sonic screwdriver and she comes back the other way towards him and she turns around and runs off and then he does it again. He's got this very big grin, satisfying, so that's quite funny to me, and he does it quite a lot in this episode. And obviously the banter between Jack and the flirty little bits, it's quite funny. Yeah,
I do. I still think he is good. I know what you mean. It is just the gurning sometimes. So like, don't know. There's a bit where he comes down the ladder at the start, and so I think what it is sometimes I feel Chris isn't comfortable doing the humour. I don't know. There's something about his performance. Like when he's doing serious stuff, he seems very confident, and it's all in the eyes, and he's really good at that. I think sometimes when he's given something where he's got to be a little bit silly, I almost feel he's not comfortable with it somehow. It doesn't come across as a confidence. In the way he does it. So, but it's not bad. Don't get me wrong. He's a great Doctor, I think.
Yeah, and I think probably more Tennant and Smith, those kind of guys can do silly, a lot more comfortably. Whereas Chris, I think you're right. He excels in that not moody, but that kind of broody. I'm a Time Lord.
Yeah.
Lots of responsibility and, all that kind of stuff on his shoulders. I think he does that stuff very, very well.
And yet the restaurant scene, he absolutely nails it. And that's that's quite comedic, where he's switching the wine, catching the dart and the spray. He nails it in that scene. So, yeah, he can do it. He can. I think you're right. It's probably sometimes the script is just not quite suited to him, perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, I think he's pretty much on form. Not his best performance out of the series, but still pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do scores, unless you've got anything else you want to add to this, buddy.
No, I think it's pretty much it. I will just say I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. Not that I was expecting to dislike it, but I found myself quite engaged in the episode, whereas I was expecting myself to get bored with it because I remembered it as a filler. So I'll just end by saying that I come out of this episode enjoying it more than I thought, and I think it is more than a filler episode. I think it's got more to it. I think the long game is perhaps a filler episode, but this has got a bit more to it. So
yeah,
I'm going to score it. I actually do find this one really hard to score, actually, because of that. Because I enjoyed it more than I thought. But I'm going to go for a 7.5 out of 10, but a strong 7.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I nearly went to an 8, but it's not quite an 8 for me. But yeah, I thought it's got some good stuff in it. I quite enjoyed it.
Okay, I will go for a 6.5.
Okay.
Yes. I didn't want to give it a 5 and be completely in the middle because, like I said earlier, I'm kind of indifferent on this one. So I didn't want to give it a 5 because I do feel that there are some good elements to this. So I've bumped it up a little bit. And I didn't want to give it a 7 because that's kind of, some of the other episodes where I've given a 7. So like the Doctor Who movie, The Mind Robber, Mark of the Rani, The Doctor's Wife maybe, and The Doctor's Daughter. I think those episodes would be classed more. I think they are better than this one.
Right.
And they would be classed, in my opinion, as good episodes. Things like Planet of Evil as well, that sort of thing. That's around a 7 that I scored before. So 6.5 is still, okay. And I do like certain elements to it. Like I think there's some good banter between the main cast. I love the location. The whole Cardiff thing's really good.
It's a nice shout out to Cardiff, isn't it?
Yeah. And I quite like the ending as well, like we discussed, the whole thing with kind of her reversing time, if you like. And so she's now this weird egg thing. So that's quite cool. So, yeah. 6.5.
Cool. What did our listeners think then? Let's have a look.
Yes, we had a couple of quick ones through on Twitter. Asta, Twitter name The Nerd Central, said very underrated. Love how it closes off the Aliens in London World War III storyline with Margaret Blaine. And George Garrity, Twitter name G_Unit91. Says, I feel like I'm the only one that likes this episode. It's full of story and character building. And the Slitheen. Mm-hmm. And one thing I forgot to mention, actually, they couldn't not have an episode with the Slitheen without a fart scene.
Oh, the stomach rumbling, yeah. I was thinking that reporter would have run a mile, which she wouldn't be stood by the toilet door.
No, of course not. Right, so Twitter, you guys... filled up the Twitter stream, so I'm going to whiz through these fairly quickly. Matt from Who Addicts Reviews, he has a soft spot for Boomtown. From the outside, it looks like a really simple filler, but I think it's brilliant. Some of the scenes between Nine, Rose and Jack and Mickey had me in stitches. I could watch them four together in any episode. They'd even make fighting the Absorbaloff look good. It also leads into the finale very well. Extremely underrated, 8 out of 10.
Oh.
Lewis Palmer. I honestly like this one. It's nice to have a light-hearted story before the big finale next episode. It's a bit of a decline from the rest of the series, but it's still pretty good. 6.5 out of 10. Martin Havel. I actually don't mind this story. Noel Clark says this is a story that made him take Doctor Who seriously. As he'd been in a pretty bad car crash weeks before this filming had started.
Oh.
Interesting fact.
Didn't know that.
Alex Kingdom. I like this episode as it has a nice story before the epic series finale. There are some great character moments and it was nice to see Mickey again. Overall 7 out of 10. Matt Gibson Duxbury. It's okay, 6 out of 10. The main thing I like about this one is the idea of the Doctor being like or even been God, especially as it is the Ninth Doctor who would make such a dark god. Andy Frankham-Allen, Mr. Andy.
Hello, Andy.
An odd mix of Scooby-Doo and a morality play. And Cardiff has never looked so beautiful. A great promo for Cardiff Bay. Although, please note the complete lack of the Torchwood shopfront in this story, despite it supposedly being there for many years by this point.
Oh, there you go.
Which we mentioned earlier. So, cool. Thanks, Mr. Andy. Tom Dix. My favourite episode of Series 1. It's perfect in every way. The sci-fi, the drama, the performances, the plot, the CGI, everything about it is perfect. And you know what? So is the location. What I love most about this story is it feels extremely human. 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Fun fact, he goes on to say, did you know this episode was originally meant to be Fires of Pompeii?
No, I did not know that.
We did not know that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Adam Time Lord Fishwick. I think it's a calm episode before the two-parter episode. I think it's a calm episode after the two-parter episode, The Empty Child, The Doctor Dances. Okay, yeah. It is a lot calmer. Matthew Blanks, absolutely terrible. Even Russell T. Davis admits this was only put in because they ran out of money and needed a filler episode. 1 out of 10, and I think I'm being generous.
Oh, harsh.
Whoa. Kate Johnson. Not one of my favourite stories. However, it did have some entertaining moments. I especially enjoyed the Doctor's date with Blonde and his thwarting all her attempts to kill him. Silly fun. 5.5 out of 10. Keira Knight. Nice fun story. I like the group of 9, Rose, Mickey and Jack. And there is a good chemistry between the Doctor and Blonde. Chris nails the performance, but Rose is still very unlikable, especially the way she treats Mickey. Agree with you there.
Yeah.
He gives it 7 out of 10. Ben Smith. Every time I watch this episode, it makes me want to visit Cardiff. Some of it is very humorous, but the best bits have to be the scenes between Blonde and the Doctor. It really delves into the character of the Doctor. An entertaining, light-hearted story, 7 out of 10. Stuart Stockwin. As an episode before the big finale, it's good to have an episode where it's light-hearted and nice and enjoyable to watch. He likes a little date scene between the Doctor and Margaret and thinks that Jack could be a little bit better. And only one tiny thing bugs me about the point is that they point out Bad Wolf an episode before I think they should have. However, really enjoys it, 7 out of 10. Jeff Waddle.
Hello, Jeff.
Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yay.
The weakest story, along with The Long Game for me, of season 1, but I'd still give it a 6. I wouldn't watch it on its own, but it's not bad as a build-up to what comes next. Fairly good point. Yanto Williams, who at its best also love Annette's Badland.
I'm going to change my surname to Badland. I just love it.
It's cool.
Adam Badland.
Adam Badland. That's got a nice ring to it.
It has, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my new hotel name, what I'm going to check in under.
Yeah, so thank you very much for your comments on the official Facebook page. Did you have anything, buddy?
Yeah, I had a couple on Geeks. We had Thomas Andrew Evans. He says, just finished rewatching this one. It's pretty calm and nicely paced after following the great two-parter. He loves Jack and Nine, and the least I say, the better, as there are... Oh, I see. No, he's being rude about Rose, I think. But yeah, he liked that one. Jason 500 Year Diary says, a fun episode. I remember the speculation surrounding this one. Before it was shown, it was labelled as an enemy of the Doctor returns. Many thought it meant the Master. I found Captain Jack in this one very irritating. Also, we and the Doctor started to see Mickey in a different light. Yeah, I think it's supposed you sort of get a bit more character development from Mickey.
Yeah.
And finally, Christopher Charles Goddard. There's a good name. He says, it's nice having a quieter, slower pace episode after an emotional two-parter. Gives you time to breathe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, a couple of good comments on there.
Yeah, very cool. I think there's... It's another one, isn't it? The classic divide, where we've got some people loving it, some people hating it. And, yeah, but also quite a few people down the middle, quite a few 6s, 5 and 6s.
Yeah, and I think it's worthy of the rewatch, because I think if I was going to score it from memory, I probably would have gone for a 4 or 5. This definitely went up. I definitely went up on my score after rewatching it. There was a lot more to it than I'd remembered. So, yeah. Very
cool.
Very good.
What are we going to do next week?
Oh, next week. This is going to be good. Next week, we're with the 4th Doctor, and we're going to be doing The Deadly Assassin.
Cannot wait for that one.
Yeah. Really looking forward to rewatching this one.
I've not seen it in ages,
Nor have I. No, I haven't watched it in quite a while. I've seen bits of it. I think it was on the Horror Channel recently, and I think I sort of dipped in and was made to switch it off, as I often am. Oh, you've seen it 100 times, I want to watch everything. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to sitting down, watching this from the beginning, and getting into it. Deadly Assassin next week.
Yeah, and I've not seen it. I picked it up on DVD, I think like 2 years ago, or at least a couple of years ago, and I've only seen it once, I think. That was back then.
Oh, really? Oh,
yeah,
cool.
So a good rewatch, that one.
Yeah, good to have a bit of Tom.
Sure. I think we're going to wrap for 54, buddy.
Let's do it.
Thank you for joining us for episode 54. I liked going through that episode this week.
Yeah,
I think you are right. Those of you who have sent in your comments and stuff, or even if you haven't, but you haven't seen Boomtown in a while, I think it is worth a rewatch, like you say.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad we picked it, actually, because we did and ah over which Eccleston one to do. And yeah, I'm definitely glad I gave this a rewatch. It's gone up, in my opinion.
Sure. Me too. Because I think I would have scored it lower as well, on memory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, trivia for this week. Last week, we asked you, in Enlightenment, what is the name of Captain Stryker's ship? The answer, of course, is the SS Shadow.
Of course.
Of course, yeah.
I rewatched that recently, and I couldn't remember. When you asked the question last week, I was thinking, I don't know. It's not that long since I've seen it.
Right, question for this. Oh, sorry, nobody got that right, by the way.
Oh, dear.
No.
Come on, guys. Mind you, I didn't get it right, so who am I to say?
Question for this week is, which story did Roger Delgado's wife provide her voice?
Ooh.
Which story did Roger Delgado's wife provide her voice? Jump onto Twitter and Facebook and give us your answer on that one. We'll let you know next week who got it right.
Yeah.
Cool. So, next week, tune in for our review of The Deadly Assassin. That's going to be cool. Plus loads more news and stuff from Who. Jump over to the official page, www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. From there you can listen to all the back episodes, and you can also jump off to Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. And you can also subscribe. Just hit the subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode. Be sure to check out Adam's The Geek's Handbag channel, which I'm sure there's got to be a video coming up soon.
Yeah, there is. I'm hoping to. I've got a couple half filmed. I'm hoping to get time to finish one tomorrow. So yeah, really, new video coming soon.
Cool. And there's loads of really cool stuff on there already, which you should check out and subscribe.
Yeah, thanks.
Until next week, we'll see you then. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam Badland.
And remember, Elonzi!